You are watching CIOTV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Infomedia.
Hey, so awesome to be meeting all of you today with this very esteemed panel. Gentlemen who are not just head of organizations, but gentlemen that have ringside seats to all things data, all things AI and automation within each of their businesses. So really awesome to be talking to all of you. Thank you for making the time today. So just a little bit about myself. I'm Srinivasan. I'm a principal analyst with Forrester Research. And broad spectrum, I cover all technologies that have to do with customer service and customer engagement, including things like conversational AI, and of course, who can ignore generative AI today? So some of those topics is what my research covers, and data-driven business is just so closely associated with all things transformational within most businesses today. So I think for the first question, gentlemen, I'll come to all of you, and what I'd love to understand is what was, how long have you been data-driven businesses by yourselves? When was your aha moment when you realized this is it, this is where we're all heading, this is what we need to be doing? Chandan, maybe we can get started with you.
So I think the pivot on data started a decade ago when we realized data is almost everywhere. Now I think when we had this initial poll, how many folks are interested for this session? So let me tell you one simple fact. Globally, we have more smartphones than human beings. Now, if that is not interesting, I'm not sure what else is. So just imagine the amount of data we generate today with all these devices that we use. Now, websites, endpoints, various systems, and end of the day, this business is all about buy and sell. Now somebody is buying something, somebody is selling something. Now there are enough data points are there globally. Today we are talking. Now I'm not sure how many of you know this. Google search, probably in a minute, we clock 6 million searches. That is the amount of data we are talking. Now tweets, probably 300K tweets per minute we are talking here. So that is the amount of data we generate today in this world. And that is only going to go up. It is not going to never come down in next probably couple of decades. Now, as an organization, we realized our strength is to work with data, modernize data, clean the data for our customers, for the organization, and get value out of it. And with that ambition, today we work with global customers where we help them to look at their data. We do analytics. We help them to understand what is the value of data they have. So probably I will stop and I'll hand over the mic.
Great, very good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here. Great, Vasu, in terms of the prestigious panel and sharing my thoughts and the input. See, coming back to your questions, of course, that's what we are here, right? I mean, without data, I think we might not arrive here. In terms of who are the panel, and then who are the speakers, and then how many events they have done it, and then what's the significant stuff, right? That's what it is driven, and to take a right decision. So the last 10 years, whatever we are consuming and what are the services we are providing, it is absolutely the data driven. As most of the conferences where we used to talk about the data is oil, data is money, data is water. Of course, it's like a crude oil, right? The crude oil cannot be consumed. Really, which needs a lot of refining, the process to ensure that how we are consuming the right data. So that aspects, most of the organizations where we're using, how we can utilize, how we can consume the right set of data, and is the first aspect. And second one is, the data is the one driving this all the behavior. Like let's take the Amazon. Amazon, maybe you can say it's 8 years before and now. It's a significant changes, right? It will understand just what is your need, what is your behavior, and what exactly you want to do it for the heart. Let's take you are buying the mobile. By default, it suggests for the mobile what are the things it's required. What are the other people bought it, right? That's what it is, the data-driven stuff. And similarly, now its experience has changed, right? In terms of maybe if you want to buy something at home, You may not require to measure with the respective mechanisms or something. Like you can scan and then it will give you like what's the size fits, how it you feel. Now that's again it's behind the data. And maybe if you want to take about the Netflix, because most of the folks now we are getting to the Netflix, it's like close to 130 million active consumers, where we have it. It's of course now we have a lot of OTT platform, but the Netflix plays a very significant role. It's understand your psychology. Morning you what you like, evening what you like. If it is kids looking for something, then what kind of things they look at, right? It's a data is driven. It's based on what and who by when and how they wanted to deploy. So that's what it is. Again, it's a play. Data play very significant role. Of course, they take the location. Which locations you are in, and so based on the location, it suggests you the movie what exactly they wanted to have it. So it's absolutely the data driven, and maybe specifically if you want to talk about maybe the investment platform, maybe we were surprised. If you see this, close to 65% of in terms of the investment, it's happening from the tier 2 cities, because they understand in terms of the importance of the savings, like how we can do it, how we can add value for that. Out of the 65%, close to 25% is it's a labor who runs there's auto and then other folks. They do the lot of investments because they want to ensure that the savings are taken care. They have enough time to do the in terms of the strategy. Who is doing good and then who is not doing good. As well as they have a great networking in terms of the understanding, in terms of connecting, and in terms of how we can move forward. It's like a simple layman stuff, but how about the data play very significant role, how we can add value. Of course, similarly, earlier where we need a lot of study in terms of which stock I can buy, which stock I can sell it, but again it's a data driven, right? And now we can go back and then see the complete history of 5 years to 10 years, what is good, what is not good, and then how we can move ahead actually. So coming to the conclusion of your questions from the bottom, from the kids born to when we are going to die, like everybody's data driven. It's not only the organization. As a consumer also we see how many people have recommended, how many people have bought it, how many have the 5-star. If that's the way it sounds great, then we move ahead and then take it forward.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. In the new era, we call it as data is everything. Data is new gold. This is the buzzword in the industry. Actually, if you see, go back to the 40 years when a lot of companies were existing, there used to be a data. There used to be a very simple data, but still most of the company used to run without much complication. After 40 years, nowadays, if you see, data has become a very complex. So everyone needs a data, and everyone wants to, everyone doesn't want to use data as it is. Okay, they want to apply some of the intelligence to the data. What kind of intelligence? Let us say there is a data, it is a raw data. Maybe structured, may be unstructured. Okay, so earlier, in the beginning, it used to be a very simple, and still people and business used to use same data without much modifications or without much application of any intelligence. They used to take decisions. Okay. Now, business and what we say is we are making things very complicated. Data, we are making it very complicated, so that we will say business can take a decision. Okay, it is very, very cumbersome for me. As and when we go ahead in the future also, capacity, data storage capacity is becoming insignificant. Then decisions also making very, very, very complex. Okay, this is where this is all because of the data. I can only blame data. Okay, this is where we are here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Virupaksh. What a fresh take. You're blaming data for challenges. I think that's very valid. Let me bring a question to the audience here. A show of hands. How many of you are closely connected within your enterprises on data-driven projects? How many of you regularly work with data, work with your analytics teams, rely on insights? A fair few number of hands. So it's not an unfair assumption that a lot of us tend to work very closely with data today. In your experience, again, show of hands, how many times have you just been overwhelmed with the amount of data that you have within your enterprise? How many of you feel like, my God, we have so much data? Has that ever happened to you? Do you end up realizing that you have access to a whole lot of data, but not access to a whole lot of insights or meaningful data, like I would call it? Again, I'm seeing a few hands go up. So I think my next question to the panel, and I think I'll probably come to Chandan first. How do you deal with this barrier? How do you, as a business, both for yourselves and for the clients that you serve, we hear constantly when we have customer conversations at Forrester that one of the biggest challenges in being a data-driven business is being able to make sense of all the data that they already have, both in terms of volume, also in terms of variety from all the disparate systems. So what is your take on that, Chandan? How do you deal with this at LTIMindtree, and how do you help your customers through this?
So it reminds me a book that I happened to read a couple of years ago, To Save Everything, Click Here. I mean, a pretty old book.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset still we have. We tend to store every form of data in the organization and without any limit to it. So basically we want all the data to be available with us perpetual. We don't want to discard anything. Doesn't matter what kind of data, what amount of data, what application that is generating, and not only one copy, probably hundreds of it in multiple places. So there's nothing called lineage that we believe we kind of practice. More number of Excel sheets are much better. More number of databases, even better. More number of data lakes, nothing like that. And there are players they encourage. There are players they ensure that you consume that in multiple ways. But the problem comes back, how do we deal with that volume of data in an organization? And when we're talking about large organizations where people are probably size of, let's say 20, 30,000 or more. See, my organization is close to 90,000 people. Now, in those size, and I know organizations are bigger than that, so data management becomes really a problem. Now, if you are operating globally, then another problem is which country mandates what. There are multiple laws are there, multiple retention requirements are there. See, it is not only about data privacy, it is not only about data protection. You have labor laws, you have employment requirements, you have provident fund requirements, you have different statutory requirements globally. Now, how do you cater to all this? Now, data retention becomes a nightmare for any organization. Either you end up storing more, or you end up storing data without understanding where the data is. Now, those who are from privacy professionals, you would understand what is a DSR, how to deal with the DSR. I think we are having enough discussion around DPDP. So a lot of things are there which today the organizations have to deal with. Now, when it comes to data management in my own organization, I'm a stakeholder of it as a CISO. And the practice that we follow data to the origin. We try to understand from where the data is coming. Is it my own data? Is it inherited data? Is it acquired data? From where it is coming? What is the source of the data in first place? What are the different attributes of this data in first place? Who are the stakeholders of this data who are supposed to manage the data? Now, that is the starting point. Then we go through the entire exercise of understanding that, mapping it to country, to the regulation, retention requirements, future possible requirements. So there's a 9-year exercise that we do today to understand what is that we have. Now, there are different ways of managing data. Probably simple version of putting it is, can you label the data? Now, if you can label it, then nothing like that. Now, structured labeling, unstructured labeling, structured data, semi-structured data, there are different kinds of data there. We need to understand all that. Now, that is probably one part of it. Then comes archival and retention. That's another problem that we have in many organizations. Once you understand, now how do you archive? How do you systemically do that? Because every day you are reaching some point where you have to either archive some data or delete some data, right? Now, how do you do that technologically? What technology you are having today to enable that? Once you do that, then do you comply to various requirements that you are supposed to do it? So it is journey. It is not something which we can do it in one day. It is not something which we can do it through one system. So it has to be process, it has to be technology, and the people who are working, they should stop loving Excel sheets and databases. So bit of awareness also is required. The CIOs in this group or in this hall, they should know how to say no. That is the most important thing I would say. And probably that will give us some kind of sleep back to the CISOs that the data are not everywhere across the organization. Probably I'll take a pause here and hand over the mic.
Any thoughts from you, Navneet?
Awesome input, Chandan. From the end to end in terms of structure and structure, how it has been taken. Just in addition to your point, really we should have the data governance, right? That's what I think it's missing in many places. We were talking about from the CISO standpoint, CIO standpoint, we always focus on the data classifications, but we never focus on the data governance. I think data governance play a very significant role in terms of who has to do what when with the complete RASI matrix of, that's the entire your process, or maybe your vertical, or maybe your tower, or maybe your external, party. Because now it's any organization. What are the organizations you call it as really we cannot run by their own. Definitely we need a third party. We need a vendor, right? In any of other format. So really as a CISO, CIO, really we are not sure like how it has been governed. As a CIO, really it's very difficult for me to tell like who are all the vendors who have access to my environment, what are the level of access they have and what are the information it is being accessed and processed internally, and then what are the information is being carried out externally. So really the data governance play very significant role to steering the complete data flow into out and then out to in to ensure that things are taken care at the right place.
Thanks, Navneet. Let's go to the man that called data the problem to start with. And sir, I have a slightly different question for you. Particularly with the kind of data that you have to handle and manage, which includes a lot of sensitive data, a lot of patient information in cases, a lot of PII that is involved. What are for you the biggest barriers in going through that unification activity of making enterprise data more meaningful? Did you face any challenges within your organization? How did you solve for it? Any best practice recommendations for the crew that's gathered here today?
Hello. Yes, especially in our hospitals, okay. Data, let us take patient data. So it has got as it is, if you see the data, it has got a lot of inconsistency, lot of missing information, okay. So lot of, for the doctors, that patient data, it looks very incomplete, okay. So why it is like that, okay. The way most of the businesses, okay, mostly around 60% of the businesses, they capture incomplete data. That data is normally inconsistencies built into the nature of the way it is being captured, okay. So these are the challenges, okay. And you can say data's normally it is not in one place, not concentrated, not centralized. So data sources capturing from various different sources, we can say, okay. When it comes from a different sources, it will have different formats. There will be a lot of inconsistency, lot of errors, and we can say it is all bad data for the business or for the person or management who wants to analyze it, okay. So these are the challenges as it is, okay. How we can overcome, okay. So one way is to massage the data. This is what is required. The way management wants, that means missing information to be filled out. How to fill the missing information? So that is to be only way is to standardize the format, standardize the architectures, you bring all different sources of data into the common platform. That is a normalization, database normalization, where most of the business owners, stakeholders, they will be able to get or generate meaningful information, meaningful dashboard, meaningful reports, the way they wanted to take a decisions. So the way to achieve these kind of dashboards is nothing but you start using the good tools available in the market, something like ETL tools, okay, where you bring all the data into a common platform and you redesign entire data to bring to the meaningful for the business as well as for the stakeholders and also technical people. At the same time, it helps to apply access controls. This is where it required, again, to comply all the existing policies, rules, DPDP 20 and GDPR kind of things. So by doing, by using ETL kind of tools, so one can overcome the inefficiency of the data. So where we will make the data available in good quality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Virupaksh. Yeah, I think a tech-enabled strategy to manage data and to engineer data within the business is definitely the scalable way to tackle data challenges within the enterprise. I'm going to put the two CISOs here a little bit on the spot, particularly because Chandan already admitted that data keeps him awake at night. For the two CSOs, and this is something that I'm hoping all the CIOs that have gathered here will kind of also agree with, is the fact that a lot of data-driven initiatives in an enterprise kind of, the CISO becomes the stop the buck kind of person, right? A lot of the times, CISO organizations, particularly security organizations, are the ones that are putting brakes on data-driven initiatives, and that's kind of where all the inertia behind being more data-driven becomes a little low for the business entirely, because it seems like a big hurdle to conquer. So a CISO's perspective on this, gentlemen, how do we get your support within the enterprise? What is important to you from a CISO perspective for you to be able to support enterprise-wide data-driven activities?
It's a classic problem where I don't want to accept that CISOs are naysayers because I am a CISO. Now, the problem what I see is CISOs are not there right amongst the business. Now, if somebody is not part of the business and he's just supposed to be there to put the guardrails to defend his job, then obviously the person is going to defend his job. Now, it is a larger issue where the CISOs also have to understand what exactly the business is. And also the business has to understand the CISOs are only not there to say no, they also are there to enable the business in a secured way. So it is both the ways that organization as well as the CISO office, they have to come closer. Now due to various reasons, there is a barrier. Now, I mean, that is a different discussion altogether, so I don't want to get into that barrier part. But as a CISO, I would love to understand the business. See, today, I mean, till yesterday, probably things were still okay. But today, without data, you can't train a model. You can't run a RAG pipeline. You can't have a very specific way of model or LLM that your organization wants. Now, if you want to hold CISO responsible for that, I would say that's not the right way. Now, CISO also has to understand how a LLM works, how the models are, how a model can be trained. Now, if the data scientist is trying to do something, the CISO has to enable it, right? Now, it is good to talk about hallucination, bias, trust, probably integrity, confidentiality, security. I mean, these words are good enough to listen, but when it comes to applied on the ground, I would say CISOs are also equally responsible to understand the application, architecture, the end result, the components, from where data is coming, how the data is going to be used, what is legally permitted, what is legally not permitted. Now, whatever is legally not permitted, now that is where the CISO hat comes into picture. The CISO has to stand up and say, no, this is not permitted, and the organization has to accept it. Now, as we mature as an organization, this acceptance is going to be there. As CISOs are more, they are in the business than in the IT, you will see there is a change, and I'm hopeful that this tag of naysayers are going to probably the thing of past. So I'll hand over to my fellow CISO.
Navneet, your thoughts?
Awesome, great input, Chandan. See, now this most of the organizations, it's a couple of points as you mentioned, it's a API-driven organization. It's not like earlier, right? If you take it 20 years before, if you want to bring out the data physically, you have to carry the data. Until unless you have the USB disk or maybe you have the network connections, then you cannot make out. Now, it's absolutely not possible. This entire world is driven, it's based on the API. And second one is a SaaS based, right? Really, we are not sure, like anyone can buy any API, anyone can plug in inside, but they can get the data, they can post the data. So really, you don't have a much visibility until unless you have the gateway and the visibility of what it is being, going out and then what is it coming in actually. To that aspect, we have a lot of challenges in terms of the categorization, in terms of the data segregation, as well as to ensure that ZTA of the complete infrastructure. Until unless we are clear on in terms of what API can be configured and what are the inputs or what are the extensions just where we can pull it over there, then we don't have a control on the data. It's like a simple star, right? You might be looking something bigger inside, but I can put a star, take out this complete your database from external to internet. And second one is, if you see the current infrastructure, ChatGPT in terms of the open AI environment is more targeted. I believe you might heard of it, right? Today also they have been targeted. Because it's billions of data which is available, right? I don't want to steal the retail. I wanted to steal from the wholesale, right? Because which already they have a billions of data. For me, it's a one, the same effort I have to put it, but in terms of the volume of data, it's a huge, I can take out and then make it on the same way it is. Nowadays, all the hackers, they are not focusing on this, getting into this retail stuff. Absolutely, just go and get into this in terms of the bigger B2C environment. It's more than enough to get in things in. I believe you guys are aware today. There's one more information also out. It's like one of the biggest telecom people also have been hacked, and the data is being out in the the market. So most of the things it's happening on the bigger way. It's a target. Really, just we have to be very conscious as a consumer. At the same time, on the service provider, what data needs to be collected, and similarly, what data needs to be given to the in terms of the enterprises. So, which will be the the very value addition. Since coming to the data privacy, I think that will regulate in some extent. May not be because culture-wise we have to travel a long way. It's not like European and then US, right? In Europe, absolutely, you cannot ask which gender you belongs to that. They can sue you. You cannot ask you are the male or female, right? But it's India, it's not the way. Really, we share the entire history. If you have a 10 minutes of time, if the word rings, we'll share this entire stuff, right? So the culture-wise also we have to uplift and then the longer way. I believe this coming DVDB law will help us to strengthen and streamline as a consumer as well as enterprise to add value, to respect the each and everyone, the PA and then PHA data.
Thank you so much, Navneet. Yeah, very interesting changes coming up. Okay, we're almost on time. I have exactly 2 minutes on the clock, and this is the last time I'll put you three gentlemen on the spot again. For the audience that is here today, what is your one-line reason for why you have to be data-driven as a business? What is the biggest impact your business saw when you pivoted to being data-driven? Just one quick line.
Yes, you see, data is foundation to digital world. Without data, nothing is there. Without data, AI is not there, ML is not there, nothing is there in the world. It is going to be a foundation, and it is going to be a new gold.
Brilliant. Navneet?
It's amazing. Let's be more responsible as well as accountable as a consumer as well as on the enterprise, because that play very significant role from the end to end. Because AI never happened, because AI, it will not only feed, right? It will eat. So that things also, because what are data? It's billions of data. They have it. It's absolutely, it's our data. It's the only thing is it's a metadata. It may not have your identity, but of course it has a data, right? So let's be very cautious in terms of the AI. what it won't just feed, it will eat also.
Brilliant. Chandan, take this home for us.
See, my view, again very personal, data is key to your future. That's the only line I would like to say. I mean, you can quantify in different ways, but this is the gateway for your future that we have to work on.
Brilliant. And 3 amazing takeaways, everything that I agree with. Thank you, gentlemen, for being such an awesome panel. And thank you, audience, for being so attentive and engaged. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.